After being reborn, my three sisters could somehow hear my thoughts. That was the cruel irony of it all. Should I tell my eldest sister, Jessica, that the man she showers with affection will one day scheme to steal her entire fortune? I'd seen Jessica flinch just slightly when she took Ryan's hand just now. Should I tell my second sister, Olivia, that Ryan will intentionally have her blinded? She had just jumped up from Ryan's lap like she'd been pricked with a needle. And if my third sister, Chloe, knew she'd spend the rest of her life in a vegetative state because of an accident Ryan arranged, wouldn't she be devastated? I watched as Olivia, who was feeding Ryan moments earlier, suddenly dumped the food right on his head. It's such a conflict. Should I tell them or not? Ryan was deliberately saving them now, only to destroy the Prescott family later and clear the path for the woman he truly loved. Ryan is our family's new butler. He comes with a charmer system. He'd accidentally saved my three villainous sisters, coaxing them into becoming his attack dogs and laying all their resources at his feet. But me? I grew jealous of him. I started stealing their affection, trying to frame him at every turn. And because of this, my three sisters came to despise me. My eldest sister, the cold CEO, froze all my cards and threw me out of the Prescott house. My second sister, the gentle doctor, secretly switched my medication, leaving me in constant agony. My third sister, the popular star, chose to hide my identity and allowed her fans to relentlessly cyberbully me. My end was tragic. There was no one left to even claim my body. The last time I saw the four of them was in a dilapidated rented room. I was sitting in a wheelchair, my clothes stained with oil, while Ryan stood there in high-end custom clothing he could never have afforded before. Surrounded protectively by my three sisters, he glanced sideways at me. Considering we were once best friends, he smiled and said, "If you apologize to me today, call me brother-in-law. I'll forgive you and take you back to the Prescott house." How about it? Brother-in-law. Does he even deserve it? He was the one who disfigured me, left me disabled, and shamelessly married into the Prescott family solely to bring it down. But sadly, no one believed me. Everyone thought I was just jealous of Ryan, that I had brought this end upon myself. I clenched my jaw and spat at him fiercely. "You think you're worthy? I'd rather die than call you brother-in-law. One day, your disgusting true colors will be exposed." Before I could finish, someone slapped me hard across the face. The force was so great I felt my teeth loosen. My ears rang. I struggled to open my eyes only to see Jessica's cold expression. She frowned tightly, like she was looking at something utterly nauseating. "Ethan, if you can't control your mouth, I don't mind tearing off for you." I clutched my face, biting down hard. "Sis." She cut me off again. "Don't call me sister. From the day you framed Ryan, you ceased to be our brother." Her words were like sharp knives stabbing into my bleeding heart. The light in my eyes gradually dimmed. I wanted to say something, open my mouth, but my throat was too dry to speak. My heart started hurting again. I clutched my chest, gasping for air. Medication. Medication. Olivia rarely smoked anymore. But now, because of Ryan, she had picked up the habit again. She took 2 steps closer, pressed the still-burning cigarette, but hard onto the back of my hand, ignoring my muffled cries of pain, and pointed at my chest, mocking. "Ethan, maybe you have congenital heart disease because your heart is too black. I don't think it's worth treating." The pain made me fall out of the wheelchair, nearly suffocating. Chloe slowly crouched down, looked at my figure, now almost skin and bones, and frowned. "Why pretend to be pitiful? Ethan, do you really think acting miserable will earn our forgiveness? Let me tell you, you're dreaming. Besides, it looks like you haven't learned your lesson." Her words were full of meaning. I knew what she meant. Just because I cursed Ryan once, she allowed his fans to viciously insult me. Some even followed me, pushed me out of my wheelchair, and watched me crawl on the ground. They often left dead rats at my door. The landlord couldn't stand it and kicked me out. I could only rent this broken-down shack next to a garbage dump with a door that wouldn't even lock. Without medication, even breathing soon became extremely difficult. Like a dying fish, I lay collapsed on the ground, covered in wounds. My consciousness blurred. I tried to recall something not painful from my life, but couldn't remember anything. My sisters ignored my outstretched hand for help and turned away, leaving only a low curse. Disgusting. I opened my mouth one last time, then could struggle no more. This was already my second rebirth. I had schemed meticulously, planned every step, but still couldn't overcome the halo of the chosen male lead. This world was based on a Lucky Charm novel, and Ryan was the protagonist, aiming to destroy the Prescott family to clear the path for his beloved woman. My three sisters were the main villains, but they would fall for Ryan at first sight, be saved by him, abandon everything, willingly become his dogs, and offer all their resources to him, shielding Ryan when he was kidnapped. They even took blows for him. One sister ended up disabled, one blind, and one in a permanent vegetative state to save him from their fates. I desperately tried to expose Ryan's true motives, but in their eyes, I was just jealous that Ryan had stolen my favored position. I ended up going from the Prescott family's young master to a disfigured, disabled outcast, despised and cursed by everyone. And no matter how many times I was reborn, Ryan would weave his way between my three sisters, successfully replacing the most important place I once held in their hearts. I knew that when I opened my eyes again, everything would reset to the beginning. But this time, I was tired. When I opened my eyes, I was still shaken. The shabby, filthy shack had transformed into a bright, warm living room. Warm yellow light illuminated the exquisitely plated food before me. A familiar voice sounded beside me, slightly aggrieved. "Ethan, why aren't you eating? Did I make something you don't like? I'm sorry. I didn't know you disliked this. Tell me what you want to eat. I'll make it for you." My pupils contracted. It was Ryan's voice. At this point, he had already become my friend, saved my sisters several times, and was starting to gain a reputation as the Prescott family's Lucky Charm. He wasn't wearing servant's clothes, but rather designer clothes I had given him, looking more like the Prescott young master than I did with his proud demeanor. Now his face was full of grievance, a grown man biting his lower lip as he spoke. I specifically asked Aunt Linda. She said seafood was your favorite. Are you not eating it now because I made it? Don't worry. I followed Aunt Linda's instructions step by step. The act had gone on long enough, but I remained silent. Ryan started getting anxious. "Ethan, why are you ignoring me? Did you start looking down on me because I came from the slums? Thinking I'm dirty?" I opened my mouth, but could only manage some meaningless sounds. I raised my hand to my throat, trying to force myself to say something, afraid that upsetting Ryan would give those three sisters who adored him another excuse to torment me. But I couldn't utter a complete sentence. Jessica's gaze shifted between Ryan and me, her eyes deep. "Ethan, is this the upbringing of a Prescott? Regardless, this is Ryan's kind gesture. Even if you don't want to eat it, you should." I lowered my eyes, laughing coldly inside. These three already had eyes only for Ryan. How could I possibly look down on you? You'll be the other master of the Prescott house soon enough. What right do I, a disabled person kicked out to live in the slums, have to look down on you? Anyone who didn't know better would think Ryan was your actual brother, the way you defend him. Oh, right. I forgot. Not a brother, but a lover boy brother. Does anyone even remember I'm allergic to seafood? My life just doesn't matter. For some reason, the dinner table suddenly fell silent. The three women, who had seemed cheerful moments before suddenly turned cold, their conversation halting. I forced down the nauseatingly rich seafood bite by bite, fighting the urge to vomit, and managed to smile at Ryan. Jessica's face, initially dark as if a hidden thought had been exposed, saw me quickly finish the seafood. As I turned pale and started to leave, she quickly reached out. "Ethan." Olivia shot her a glare, signaling her to shut up, then turned to me gently. "Ethan, are you not feeling well today? Let me take a look, okay?" She was a doctor. In my past life, she prescribed my heart medication, and she was the one who stopped it. She watched me suffer, having long forgotten that I was once the brother she cherished. I stood on the stairs, looking back, my expression hidden in the shadows, unseen by anyone. Just a minor allergy. It won't kill me. I'm really tired. Stop tormenting me. I'll agree to anything. Olivia froze, her face paling as she apologized to me. I didn't mean to forget you're allergic to seafood. Didn't mean to forget. Such a clumsy, laughable excuse. I couldn't be bothered with their pretenses anymore and turned, leaving without a backward glance. I knew it as soon as Ryan appeared. No matter what I did, I would be the one not favored, so I just decided to give up trying. A sudden knock on the door pulled me back from my chaotic thoughts. Ryan was back with his usual heart-wrenching look of grievance. His voice choked with tears as he knocked repeatedly, as if he wouldn't stop until I opened up. Ethan, what's wrong? Did I do something to upset you? I apologize. Please don't ignore me. Okay, aren't we best friends? His words sounded incredibly pitiful, but I heard another voice simultaneously in my ear. It was still Ryan's voice, but what it said was the complete opposite of his spoken words. System. What the hell is wrong with Ethan? His recent actions weren't in the script. Now those supporting female characters think I'm bullying him. My affection points dropped by 10. Then came another mechanical voice. Rest assured, host, I've checked. Their affection levels for you are still above 50. The lost points are within controllable limits. I instantly felt like I'd fallen into an ice cave. A chill crept up my spine and settled at the back of my neck. Even though the room was warm, I couldn't stop shivering. Those voices again. In my past life, after Ryan framed me and I was briefly unconscious from a car accident, I often heard him speaking to that same mechanical voice. They plotted openly near me, talking about how to ruin the Prescott family, how to use it as his stepping stone. When I woke up, I had rushed to Jessica, desperate to tell her what I'd heard. But no matter how I explained, all I got in return was her disgusted glare. I still remember Ryan stepping out of Jessica's private study, a room no one else was ever allowed into, looking every bit the perfect, gentle green tea man. Jessica dear, he said softly, with just the right amount of wounded kindness. Maybe Ethan was only confused for a moment, did something rash. It's all right. I forgive him. The more magnanimous he appeared, the darker Jessica's expression grew. Her voice dropped, scolding me harshly. Ethan, how could you become like this? After failing to frame Ryan with a car accident, you're now trying to slander him in front of me? And he even took care of you while you were unconscious, asking me not to blame you. The rest of that day is a blur, but I remember enough. That was the moment I was truly cast out of the Prescott family. I was forced to leave with just one small suitcase filled with a few plain clothes. It was pouring outside, rain drenching me until I was covered in mud. Jessica's face remained unmoved as she shoved me out. From the doorway, she looked down on me as though I were filth. Ethan, she said coldly, since you can't tolerate Ryan, from this day forward, the Prescott family no longer recognizes you as its young master. Without that title, without the Prescott name, what do you think you amount to? Remembering all of this now still made my body tremble. What role was Ryan playing at this moment? I didn't need to wonder. I already knew he wasn't standing outside the door alone. Someone else must be with him, someone whose favor he was trying to win. But it didn't matter. None of it mattered anymore. I was planning to leave the Prescott family anyway. Still, I knew I couldn't avoid the confrontation forever. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. Ryan's hand froze mid-knock, then without embarrassment, he reached forward to take mine. I stepped aside, dodging him. Ethan, he drew out my name, his tone almost pleading, while his eyes flicked deliberately toward Chloe, who stood behind him. If something's wrong, just tell me, okay? Don't ignore me. I knew this act well. In my past life, he only ever showed me this kind of kindness when my sisters were watching. Right now, this performance was for Chloe's benefit. Chloe stayed silent for a long time before finally speaking. But, of course, it wasn't to question Ryan. It was to defend him. She studied me carefully, her eyes filled with a kind of hidden concern. Ethan, she said gently, I heard from Jessica and Olivia these past few days. Is there some kind of misunderstanding between you and Ryan? Weren't you two good friends before? Do you know how many times he's cried secretly because you've been ignoring him? Her voice softened even further, adopting the tone of someone genuinely worried. I know a very famous psychologist. If there's something you don't want to tell Jessica or Olivia, you can tell me. I'll take you to see them tomorrow, all right? So that was it. In her eyes, anyone who disliked Ryan must have a mental illness. That was the explanation? When she let her fans cyberbully me before, I didn't hear her worrying about my mental state. Was this her way of venting Ryan's anger again? Would she lock me up in a mental hospital this time, just to keep me out of the way? Chloe froze when she saw my expression, her own face slowly twisting. She looked at Ryan, then back at me, then down at her own hands as though she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Ethan, she began hesitantly. Did I do something wrong? Please don't hate me, okay? I felt my guard go up immediately. My face tightened, alert. Without answering, I shook my head quickly and shut the door in their faces. Not long after, I heard a sharp thud, followed by Ryan's pained voice outside. Chloe, dear. Then came the cold voice of the system. Warning. Affection from female supporting character Chloe -10. Current affection level has dropped below 50. Host, please raise the affection level immediately. Don't call me that, Chloe snapped, her tone grim. Jessica and Olivia might have been fooled by you, but I'm not. You'd better give me an explanation, or I don't mind. I couldn't hear the rest. Presumably, they had walked away. I didn't understand Chloe's sudden shift, nor did I care to. After all, if my sisters were already this protective of Ryan, repeating the mistakes of my past life was only a matter of time. Whatever Ryan planned to do with the Prescott family had nothing to do with me anymore. For me, the only thing that mattered now was survival. I rarely returned to the Prescott house after that. Ryan, on the other hand, was there more and more often. Since the family always kept my identity hidden from the public, outsiders only knew that the Prescotts had a young master who was sickly and spoiled, but not who he actually was. And now Ryan had stepped into that role. He didn't deny it. When people asked, he would only smile faintly and remain silent. To the public, that looked like confirmation. He was the Prescott young master now. Even my own roommate, Mark, sneered at me. Ethan, how come you're not hanging out with Ryan anymore? Weren't you two riding in the Prescott car together at the start of the semester? What happened? Did you have a falling out with Ryan? And now he won't even let you ride in the Prescott car. I ignored him, keeping my head down, organizing my homework. But he reacted as if I'd struck a nerve, slamming his phone down. A character in his game screamed in death, and Mark snapped at me. Ryan doesn't even want to deal with you anymore. You failed at latching onto the Prescotts, so stop pretending. Ryan, who was sitting beside him, gave a helpless little tug on Mark's sleeve. Mark, let it go. Everyone knows Ethan hates me, right? I can't force things. Mark crossed his arms with a huff. I just can't stand his holier-than-thou attitude. Wasn't he desperately trying to get close to you before? What's with this act now? Then, as if suddenly remembering something, he shot me a vicious glare. I'll see how long you can keep up this pretense. They eventually left, but not before Ryan glanced back at me, his eyes full of calculation. I overheard him whispering to the system again. System, whose affection level is the highest right now? Currently it's Jessica, the system replied. But you must hurry. An affection level of 60 is still too low. You must raise it to 80 within a week, or you will not be able to foresee the upcoming plot points. Upcoming plot points. I remembered. Jessica was supposed to sign a contract and get trapped at sea. Ryan would rescue her, and that would form the foundation of their bond. Whatever. That was their business. What did any of that have to do with me? I packed up my things and headed to the library. But on the way, I started noticing strange looks from people around me. Whispers followed me. Isn't that the guy from the forum? Yeah, must be Ethan, right? Ruthless social climber, trying to worm his way into a wealthy family. I heard he fell out with Ryan because he tried to get with the Prescott sisters. What? That's disgusting. I used to see him and Ryan together all the time. No wonder they don't even speak now. Well, if your friend tried to seduce your sisters, would you still talk to him? True. Shameless. Could have lived decently, but he chose to be a kept man. I lowered my head and kept walking, ignoring the comments. But then a familiar voice cut through the noise. Ryan. He had appeared again, this time right outside the library. He grabbed my hand tightly, refusing to let me go. Ethan, don't listen to them. It's all nonsense, a misunderstanding. They don't believe you, but I do. His words sounded sympathetic, but he offered no proof to clear my name. To anyone watching, it only made him look like the bigger person. They would praise his kindness, not believe in my innocence. A classic case of the thief, crying thief. My silence only made the insults grow louder. Ryan looked even more aggrieved than I did, his eyes filling with tears as he stared at me pitifully. Here we go again. Did Ryan have any other move besides crying? I tried to shake free, but his grip only tightened. The system blared a warning. Warning. Female supporting character Chloe is approaching this location. Host, please maintain your persona and avoid any actions that will decrease affection. Ryan's expression shifted instantly. Then, in a louder, tear-filled voice, he declared, "Stop talking about Ethan. He's not that kind of person. You've all misunderstood him." To the crowd, it must have looked like we were best friends. He defended me despite the rumor that I'd seduced his sisters. Truly magnanimous. I sneered under my breath, lowering my head as my gaze fell on my reddened wrist from his grip. And then I heard Chloe's voice cut through the noise. "What do you mean, not that kind of person?" Even with a hat and sunglasses, her striking figure was unmistakable. Soon, a fan recognized her and shouted excitedly, "Isn't that Chloe? It must be. She's here to back Ryan up." That makes sense. Her brother was deceived by a social climbing lowlife like Ethan, but Ryan still treats him as a friend. Of course, Chloe would support him. Wow, Chloe's so beautiful. If I'd known, I would have talked to Ryan more. Maybe he could have gotten me her autograph. The noise swelled louder and louder. And yet, standing in the center of it all, I felt strangely detached, as though none of it really had anything to do with me anymore. When would this farce end? Wasn't Chloe here to support Ryan? Why was she waiting? Shouldn't she hurry over, push me down, and scold me like last time? Instead, Chloe frowned, her expression unreadable. Under countless shocked gazes, she walked straight toward Ryan, then bypassed him entirely. She stopped in front of me, holding out the cake in her hands. Her voice was soft, affectionate. "Ethan, I've been so busy with work lately, I haven't had time to see you. Are you settling into the dorm, okay? How about moving into my apartment near campus? Oh, and this is strawberry cake. I couldn't get it from your favorite bakery today, but I'll make sure I do next time." The crowd fell completely silent. Even Ryan's face twisted darker by the second. I pressed my lips together tightly, unwilling to take the cake. What game was she playing now? I knew this trick. She wanted people at school to misunderstand our relationship, to set me up to be bullied again. Combine that with her rabid fans, and maybe I'd get acid thrown on me like last time if I was lucky. The memory of that bone-deep pain, the searing humiliation of being dissected under the world's eyes, made me tremble all over. Nothing good ever happened when Ryan was involved. Chloe's face darkened, and she snapped angrily, "What are you all talking about? Ethan seducing me?" The Prescott family, as always, had only one young master, and that's Ethan. Ryan is just hired help in our house. How did he suddenly become the Prescott young master? The system immediately reported Chloe's affection dropping again and again. Ryan finally panicked. He had assumed Chloe's pity for him meant she would never expose his status as a servant. Now everyone who had just insulted me turned their malicious gazes toward him. His face went deathly pale, tears streaming down as he cried out, "So what if I'm hired help? At least I earn my own money through hard work. Unlike you young masters and Mrs. Bourne with silver spoons, who just have to reach out for anything you want. But even so, you can't trample my dignity underfoot. My background might not compare to yours, but I'm never inferior to you." His sudden outburst stunned everyone present. Even Chloe looked unusually guilty. Seizing the chance, Ryan tearfully ran off. The system promptly reported, "Congratulations, host. Affection from female supporting character Chloe +20, back to 50. Now that everyone knew I was the actual Prescott young master, their attitude shifted strangely. Mark even posted an apology under the anonymous thread that had accused me of bed climbing. It was all because I believed Ryan's nonsense that I posted that thread. All the ambiguous evidence in it was provided by Ryan. He used me. I hope Ethan can be the bigger person and not pursue this. I sincerely apologize to you here. I'm sorry, Ethan. Suddenly, even more people began criticizing Ryan. They called him vain and scrupulous, the type to bite the hand that feeds him. They mocked how he talked about self-reliance, about being proud of being hired help. But when his job was mentioned, he cried and made a scene. If he truly didn't care about status differences, why didn't he clarify when people mistook him for the Prescott young master? Unfortunately, I didn't pay much attention to the forums. All I knew was that Jessica called me, her voice cold, summoning me back home. It didn't take a genius to figure out she wanted to stand up for Ryan. I deliberately delayed until dusk before knocking on the Prescott door. Inside, Ryan sat crying in the center of the three sisters. The scene instantly reminded me of the last image I had seen before dying in my previous life. Here we go again. Chloe looked the most conflicted. She wanted to come greet me, but ultimately stayed by Ryan's side. Ethan, what you did this time was really too much. Me? Excessive. I thought bitterly. I don't even know what I supposedly did. It was Ryan who didn't clarify his identity, who even encouraged others to spread rumors that I was a bed-climbing lowlife. Have I ever said a single bad word about him or defended myself even once? Right. But of course, they probably thought this was all my scheme to frame Ryan. None of them cared that the trauma from the past had left me unable to speak. Understanding their accusatory stance, I stopped at the doorway, not taking another step closer. This Prescott house no longer had a place for me. Chloe's expression suddenly shifted, as if she finally understood something. She quickly walked towards me. Ethan, you. Ryan's system started blaring frantically. Warning. Female supporting character Chloe affection -10. Current affection 40. Warning. Female supporting character Chloe affection -10. Current affection 30. Warning. Female supporting character Olivia affection -10. Current affection 40. Their affection levels dropped alternately, one after the other. Only Jessica gave me a deep look, showing no reaction. Seeing this, Ryan seemed to grasp a lifeline. He threw himself at Jessica, grabbing her hand, tears streaming. Jessica, dear, you know I'm not that kind of person. What I cared about in the Prescott house was never the money. It was you all. You're like my real family, letting me feel the warmth of home. Perhaps my existence threatened Ethan. So he. Before he could finish, Olivia interrupted coolly. So he what? You came to the Prescott house, not for money? Who would believe that? If you really weren't after money, when Ethan gave you those limited edition clothes and sports cars, why didn't you refuse them with the dignity and backbone you just bragged about? Chloe, though a good actress, was slow on the uptake. Olivia's words finally made her see the holes in Ryan's story. She flushed with anger. Yeah, if you really didn't care, why did you insist on riding in the Prescott car with Ethan to school? Why didn't you explain when people mistook you for the Prescott young master? You did not care. You cared desperately. In an instant, both their affection levels were nearly depleted. Ryan, pale as death, could only cling tightly to Jessica. Jessica's eyes softened as she gently stroked his hair. Ryan, don't be afraid. As long as you haven't done anything wrong, I will stand up for you. So please don't disappoint me. Ryan leaned against her dependently, then shot me a provocative glance from a corner hidden from everyone else. Even if Olivia and Chloe's affection dropped, the real power in the Prescott family lay with Jessica. As long as he captured Jessica's heart, what was there to worry about? He was determined to become the male master of the Prescott house. He frantically called out to his system internally. System, since Olivia and Chloe's affection is already tanked, I want to use their remaining affection to unlock the next plot point related to Jessica. The system seemed hesitant. Host, are you sure you want to do this? Once affection drops into the negative, it's a completely different concept. These supporting female characters will utterly despise you. Ryan dismissed it. Just two supporting characters. How much trouble can they cause even if they hate me? Hurry up and make the exchange. Ding. Plot point exchange successful. Current Olivia affection -10. Chloe affection -20. Plot point unlocked. Jessica will be trapped at sea while signing a contract in half a month. Host can prepare in advance and provide assistance. This will surely win Jessica over completely. A look of confident determination appeared on Ryan's face. Seeing through his thoughts, I smiled coldly. Well then, I wish you success in rescuing Jessica with your sister's help. Jessica will surely fall deeply for you. After all, saving someone's life. If you use that as leverage to marry Jessica, she might even agree. Bringing someone who wants to destroy the Prescott family into the fold. Marrying the eldest sister while flirting with the other two. What great fortune for the Prescott family. Bless you both. I hope you're locked together forever. Just leave me alone soon. I really don't want to be part of your games. Jessica looked at me intently. Her expression was too complex for me to decipher, but I boldly guessed she wanted to kick me out like last time, just finding hard to say. So, I packed my own bags and left the Prescott house. I took everything that belonged to me, even transferring my money to a new bank card. That's why, unlike last time, I wasn't destitute or forced to rent a broken-down shack. Olivia and Chloe visited me often, whether out of guilt or pretense. Their eyes filled with pity when they looked at me. Olivia always found time to come by, trying to chat with me like teaching a child to speak. Seeing no reaction from me, she would leave disappointed. Chloe suggested taking me to a doctor more than once, but I refused each time with a shake of my head. Half a month after moving out, I received an invitation to an art exhibition at sea, hosted by my favorite painter. Without much thought, I packed my things and went. However, the area on the cruise ship dedicated to the art exhibition was pitifully small. Most of it was for the amusement and entertainment of wealthy merchants and dignitaries. I saw Jessica there, and standing beside her, looking dapper and composed in a suit, was Ryan. He seemed to have expected my arrival. A sarcastic smile played on his lips. He said to his system, "Since someone has to die in this plot point, why can't it be Ethan? If he hadn't been born into the Prescott family, what would he be? Better off being my stepping stone. At least his death would serve a purpose." Jessica clearly saw me too. She frowned, a sense of foreboding washing over her. She turned to Ryan, apparently questioning him about something. When she looked back, I had already vanished into the crowd. Ryan's vicious voice echoed in my ears like a persistent shadow. "Go ahead and be smug, Ethan. Let's see who has the last laugh." I sighed, wanting to curse him, but not knowing where to start. I knew his intentions weren't pure, but I hadn't expected his plan to be so audacious. Even standing in the crowd looking at the exhibition, his people managed to drug me and take me away. When I woke up, I was hanging like bait outside the ship, only 2 or 3 meters above the dark, turbulent sea. And beside me, in the same predicament, hung Ryan. Seeing me awake, he quickly squeezed out a couple of crocodile tears, crying out, "Jessica, dear Ethan's awake. Save Ethan instead. My life isn't worth much." The man in the suit beside him spoke gravely. "Well, Jessica, have you made your decision? One is your actual brother. The other your lover boy. Decide who you want to save." At this point, how could I not understand Ryan's intention? He just wanted to use Jessica's choice to break my heart. Too bad he miscalculated. The moment I died tragically before, I had already shed all familial affection. It wasn't worth it. I didn't care about Jessica's choice. I only cared if I could survive. Jessica raised her hand, hesitated for a moment, then slowly pointed towards Ryan, saying solemnly, "You let Ryan go. He's innocent." The man in the suit burst out laughing. "Excellent, Jessica. I never thought you'd stoop to sacrificing family for a pretty face. I wasn't wrong about you." He waved his hand, and someone pretended to untie Ryan, but instead swiftly cut one of the ropes holding me, leaving the other on the verge of snapping. The man in the suit's face darkened. "Did you think I couldn't see through your little trick?" You're just afraid I'll hurt your brother, so you pretended to care about Ryan. But me? Could it be that was actually your genuine choice? Instead of saying you care about your brother's life, maybe you just didn't dare gamble on my intentions. Afraid of putting Ryan in danger. Whatever. They both escape in the end anyway, kissing on the lifeboat. Instead of using me as a pointless threat, why not just cut Ryan now? Jessica would probably burst into tears. Jessica's expression changed several times before she finally conceded. Isn't it the Southside development bid you want? I'll withdraw from the competition. Let him go. Ryan automatically assumed Jessica meant him, his eyes welling up with tears of gratitude. Jessica, dear. The man in the suit waved dismissively. Jessica, do you think you still have the right to bargain with me? Just the Southside project isn't enough. I also want the Prescott family's recent partnership deal. Even I knew about this partnership. It was the secret deal Ryan later sold out. Why was this person demanding it now? The plot, unbeknownst to me, seemed to have changed significantly. Ryan hadn't expected the man to be so greedy either. This wasn't what they had agreed upon at all. He wanted to use the Prescott family as a springboard into the elite circle, not destroy the family today. He coughed lightly twice, trying to remind the man in the suit, but was met with a threatening cut to one of his own ropes. The man glanced at him. What are you coughing for? Weren't you the one who told me this information? Now you don't want me to say it. Ryan was completely stunned. He panicked instinctively, forgetting he was still suspended, and hurriedly explained, "What nonsense are you talking about? What do you mean I told you?" He frantically tried to signal with his eyes, having forgotten the oldest truth. Making deals with tigers requires having enough strength yourself. Otherwise, you just become desert. These people in high positions were born looking down on him. How could they care about supposed partnerships or contracts aside from him? Too bad he couldn't see it. Relying on his system to know the plot in advance, Ryan had naively believed everything would unfold exactly according to plan. But nature had its own say. A fierce wind rose, the cruise ship rocked violently against the surging waves, and the already fragile ropes snapped without warning. Ryan's scream pierced the chaos. Terrified, he shouted, "Jessica, dear, save me." But then his eyes widened, because Jessica didn't run to him. She sprinted straight toward me. I was just as stunned as he was, staring wide-eyed. Jessica grabbed me tightly, holding on as though her life depended on it. She even used her own body as a cushion, taking the brunt of the water's impact before I hit. We plunged into the sea. She clung to me desperately, struggling to stay afloat while swallowing mouthfuls of salt water. Still, through chattering teeth and gasps, she whispered, "Ethan, don't be afraid. Sister is here." For a moment I froze. I didn't know what kind of act she was putting on now. In my heart, I cursed silently. What a performance. Isn't this supposed to be the part where you're clinging to Ryan, calling him dear Ryan? Her expression flickered, stiff for just a second. Fortunately, the rescue team I had arranged beforehand arrived quickly. Even with their timely help, by the time they pulled me onto the speedboat, my body was shaking uncontrollably from the cold. Jessica wrapped me in a thick coat and only then shifted her attention to the distance. There, Ryan thrashed helplessly. A massive wave had swept him dozens of meters away. When they finally dragged him aboard, he was barely breathing. Once ashore, the man in the suit, who hadn't intended for things to go this far, froze as police surrounded him. His roar split the air. Who? Who called the police? I glanced at him calmly and said softly, "Who else?" Of course, it had been me. Knowing Ryan was plotting something vile, how could I not prepare? I could hear his thoughts and his system's whispers. Even if I didn't know every detail, I understood enough. That's why before ever boarding the cruise ship, I'd arranged for both a rescue team and the police. No one would escape. Jessica's gaze lingered on me. For a fleeting moment, it seemed she wanted to smile, but her lips only twitched before her expression smoothed over again. Turning to the unconscious Ryan, her face hardened. "Send him for treatment," she ordered her subordinates. Then, after a pause, she added coldly, "Preferably he doesn't die. But he doesn't need to live too comfortably either." Ryan didn't die, but after so long in the freezing sea, his frail body gave in. He was left with irreversible health issues. As for his scheme with the man in the suit, at the very least, it was kidnapping and extortion. At worst, it bordered on attempted murder. With the Prescott family implicated, neither of them escaped punishment. Both were sentenced to 5 years in prison. Later, Jessica even brought me along to visit Ryan. Unsure of her intentions, I followed. Behind the thick prison glass, Ryan was a shadow of himself, skeletal and gaunt. Yet his eyes lit up when he saw her. "Jessica, dear, why did it take you so long to save me?" he whimpered. "You came so late. Ryan hurt so much." Tears welled in his eyes. "Jessica, dear, everything that happened before, it was Ethan's idea. He set the whole thing up. He truly believed she'd trust him without question, that I'd stay silent as always, that she'd side with him." But Jessica's lips curled into a sneer. "Still acting? Even now, it's pointless." Ryan's face drained of color. Inside his head, panic swirled. "System, isn't Jessica's affection at 80? Why is she treating me like this? She should be head over heels in love with me by now." The system's voice buzzed like static. "Host injury detected. Significant system instability. Running check. Check failed. Female supporting character Jessica's affection level. 80. 70. 60 negative spike detected." Ryan froze. "What? How did Jessica's affection drop so drastically? That's impossible. 80 to minus 80? No, that's too extreme. The system must be malfunctioning." Tears streamed down his face as he wailed, screaming Jessica's name over and over. She was his only lifeline left. But Jessica ignored his pleas. Her voice cut through his sobs like ice. "Looks like your so-called system isn't omniscient after all. It can't even see through a disguise." Huh. Both Ryan and I were floored. My heart skipped a beat. I knew about Ryan's system only because I was reborn and could hear his thoughts. But how did Jessica know? She didn't explain. She just looked at Ryan with a cold, merciless gaze. "Didn't you want to get out?" Perfect timing. Olivia's lab is collaborating with a national research facility. They're studying the human brain. A subject like you, someone with a system, would be invaluable. Ryan's screams echoed down the hallway. "No, I don't want to go. I'll stay here in prison. Please, Jessica, don't do this." But it was useless. His head was strapped into instruments, his body mummified in restraints. They dragged him away, straight into the laboratory. With Ryan gone, I was forced back into the Prescott household. The 3 sisters seemed changed, as if they'd finally woken up. They tried hard to treat me better, each one vying to show care. But I couldn't feel at home there anymore. Olivia was often buried in lab work, yet whenever she returned, she brought news about Ryan. "At first, we thought the system was just abstract," she told us once, a strange light in her eyes. "But when we scanned him, we actually found it." Chloe immediately asked, "Where?" Olivia tapped her temple. "Here. In his brain. At first, we thought the shadow was a lesion, but it turned out to be a cluster of data, something our current technology can't decode yet. Once we do, though, building systems of our own will be possible." As for Ryan, he didn't last. Olivia said his body collapsed under the experiments. The lab discarded him. All they kept was his brain, just enough activity to preserve the system inside. Jessica later spoke to me at length. She confessed that after I'd left for school, her own memories had come back. She too had been reborn. She'd heard about Ryan's system from my thoughts, and fearing his tricks, decided to act alongside me, ultimately trapping him and his system in one decisive blow. Finally, she stood in front of me as I held my suitcase, her voice hoarse. "Ethan, are you really going overseas?" I paused before the airport security checkpoint, then nodded firmly. It didn't matter if Ryan was punished in this life. It didn't matter if the sisters regretted their actions. The pain I endured could never be erased. I couldn't pretend nothing happened and go back to being the Prescott young master. I'd rather pursue my dream abroad, to study, to paint, to finally live for myself. As for them, realizing their betrayal, Waking up too late, that was punishment enough. Their true brother, the Prescott heir, had already died at their own hands. I had to leave. Jessica froze as she heard me. She realized I wasn't defending myself anymore. My selective mutism had been slowly improving, but I had never spoken in front of them. Until now. This was my first time walking through security, my eyes lifted toward the wide blue sky and a brighter, freer future. I didn't look back. The moment I decided to leave, I let them go completely. Goodbye. From now on, I will never again be your brother. I am my own.